We need to be able to have conversations without feeling like we're going to say something that gets us thrown in jail because people happen to be offended.
Skepticism, skepticism. Do you know what you believe? What you believe? What you believe? What you believe?
All right, dudes. Welcome to Test Your Skepticism. I'm your host, Travis Pangburn, and there's been another mass shooting, another tragedy in the US of A. So I posted a poll question earlier today, not that long ago, actually. So we're going to look at the results. The poll question is, another mass shooting in the USA. How do we better deal with these events? How do we better deter these events from happening? Less guns, healthcare. I'll read the options in this poll for you guys. So less guns is one option. Healthcare improvement, parental improvement, educational improvement, or legal improvement. Most arguments you're going to think of are going to fall under those categories. And I want you to test your skepticism on your own initial reactions to this problem. A lot of you will be in the camp of people that have been making the same argument for quite some time with regards to this issue. And I want you to test your skepticism on your argument. Where could you be wrong? Question and continue to question anything within how you think about this problem, or whether you think it is a problem. Not everyone out there thinks that this is a problem that can be solved or overcome. Their thinking is that it's inevitable that human apes are going to sometimes fall into cannibalism or harming others. It's just you start seeing chimp-like behavior in humanity. Well, there's a reason for that. There's a reason why we have that capacity. I'm going to be opening up Discord to get some commentary from our peeps on Discord. I'm going to drop you guys our Discord link if you want to jump on in a little bit to engage in a conversation about this. I'm going to open up the lines for that, and you'll if you click the Discord link, just join us on Discord, and you'll find me sitting muted in the Test Your Skepticism section. Muted. My balls are dropping today, by the way. Anyways, so as most of you know, Boulder, Colorado, supermarket shooter is ID'd as 21-year-old man. This happened at King Soopers. I've never heard of that grocery chain, but apparently it's a thing in the United States. Yeah, so this left 10 dead. One person who died was a police officer. The victims range in age from 20 to 65. So my fundamental question for you guys, and I hope you guys weigh in the chat here. Make sure you drop a like on the video when you stop by. It'll get more people here to engage. Is how do we do better to deter these type of events in the future? What can we do better? I'm going to refresh the poll here. We're going to go down the list. I want to see what other people have to say. Okay, we got 137 votes in so far. Another mass shooting in the USA. How do we better deter these events? Less guns is sitting at 24%. Extraordinary. Healthcare improvement, 14%. Parental improvement, 25%. Educational improvement, 29%. Legal improvement, 8%. Now, I don't want you to take the lazy thinker way out and to say all of these are equally important. No, they're not. You're not testing your skepticism. Go through the critical thinking process. Let's go through the process of sorting bullshit from reality. That's what skepticism is. So let's look at the first option here. It's got 20. Well, let's first read some of the comments. Feel free to drop a comment here on YouTube. I want to leave this open today for quite some time. When you do drop in, drop your answer or your comment in. I want to hear from you. Oh, actually, I should do a quick share to let people know we're live. That would probably be a good idea. I haven't shared anything yet. And also another follow-up question. Why do so many mass shootings happen in the United States? What's your answer? Remember to engage with your skeptical foundation. Don't just blurt out the first emotional thing that hits you in the ball sack. We are live. Another mass shooting in the USA. How do we better deter these events? Question mark. Okay, we'll post that on the community tab. I'll post in the comment of this poll question as well. Pin. Let's go over to Twitter. If you guys aren't following me on Twitter, I am at the Pangburn on Twitter. I'm not very active on there because it's quite a dumpster fire platform. But there's still some great ideological battles to engage in there. That's kind of how I decide what platforms I'm going to spend my time on. I'm just making sure I'm not sharing. Okay, good. Okay. All right. Sharing that. Let's go over to the Pangburn page. If you're not following us on Facebook, we have our main Pangburn page, which you'll find at Pangburn Inspire. So facebook.com/Pangburn Inspire. We have a lot of conversations rolling every day there, so please engage. If you're into hard science, go to the Pangburn Science Network page, and the link to that is facebook.com/Pangburn Science. So anything hard science related, you'll find there. I do a fair amount of sharing to that page, and we have, I think, 4 or 5 admins now that engage in different scientific professions that post on that page. So you'll get some pretty good information, interesting articles, and quizzes, and all kinds of stuff. But if you want to get kind of the whole effect of kind of the most updates of what we're doing at Pangburn, join us on Discord. It's the best place to know exactly what's going on all the time, and it's the best place to be able to access one-on-one conversations with myself. So if you're into that, and also with the rest of the community, we have an amazing community built on there, amazing moderators and admins that do such good work. So join us. Try engaging in the conversations. Okay, let's see some of the comments here. Drew Baum says, now what I'm going to want you guys to see here, or wait a sec. Oh, that's not the right. I want to open up the other one. What I want you guys to look at here is who is making absolutist blanket broad statements and who's trying to be helpful here. Drew Bombs says, less guns would do nothing. If they want a gun, they're going to get one. Now, how does that test your skepticism? What are some things that could be wrong with that absolutist statement? Again, Drew Baum says, less guns would do nothing. If they want a gun, they're going to get one. Well, that's just almost initially demonstrably not correct, right? If you can imagine a country where you essentially, it's damn near impossible for you to find a gun, you still may be able to find a knife or some other weapon. But in theory, this is not a good statement to make from a skeptic's perspective. Less guns would do nothing. Why not say, if they mitigate the guns by, let's say 25% in the United States, there would still be a fuck ton of guns out there, and people would still be able to get their hands on them. So unless they're going to go coast to coast and take everyone's guns away, which that is obviously going to have different implications socially, then the less guns approach isn't the answer. And then Captain Pieck jumped in right away and said true, to agree with Drew. Now let's see what ML Frog has to say. Now here we go again. Look. Then MLG Frog. This is social extremist use of language and claims, guys. MLG Frog says less guns would absolutely decrease mass shootings. Let's look at that claim by itself. Less guns would absolutely decrease mass shootings. So less gun. Do you think 10% less guns equates to 10% less shootings? And do you think or do you think 10% less guns or 5% less guns equates to less shootings? If you're going to make that claim, you have to demonstrate it and show me the model that you've come up with. You might say, again, if your idea is that you want to demonstrate is that if we attempt to eliminate the amount of guns that we have by a significant amount, perhaps we would deter some mass shootings. But that's a much different claim. And then right here, if they want a gun, it would be harder for them to get one. It would be harder for them to get one if you decrease it by a factor that's going to affect that. Just decreasing it by 1% doesn't equate to 1% better on the mass shooting scale. That's not the way things work. I'm from Europe, specifically Croatia. It's very hard for a common person to get a gun here, and we have 0 shootings, thank God. It's very hard to come. Yeah, so in a situation where it's very hard for a common person to get a gun. Now, and then now people will say, so do you have less mass killings on a whole or less mass attacks on a whole? Or are people just using different means to carry out those attacks? So we would have to look at that. But of course, I would say that if these mass attacks are resulting in less deaths because they don't have guns, well, that's a good thing, right? Because as soon as you die, there's no coming back. Getting stabbed in the side or getting stabbed in the gut and surviving, there is coming back if you survive, right? Then we got, dude, just look at Europe. More gun control, less shootings. If a depressed teenager has some bad thoughts and he can't just pick one out of his parents' closet, he mostly won't go out of his way to buy one. If it's very hard to buy, brah. What do you guys think of that? Looks like we got Sean Sullivan and Locked. Thanks for stopping by. Alexander, welcome. Alex, say hello to Alexander. He's our mod in here all the time. Amazing mod. Also Pangburn skeptic and philosopher on our Discord. Locked says it's parental failure at the surface, but usually the parental failure is because of medical and financial problems at the core. Notice how mass shootings have correlated with opioid epidemic. Alexander says proper parenting and reducing perceptions of victimhood would go a long way. Not saying they're the 100% cause and answer. Yeah, this is very good. Many different reasons for shooters taking action, but easy access to guns is wrong, is what Mintos says. Sean Sullivan says, I think improved parental relations would help with teaching children to value themselves and other people, which may increase valuation of life and reduce resentment. Well, yeah, this is where my mind goes when I think about this. If someone's moral foundation has gone unchallenged, and they believe that if someone does something wrong to them, they are allowed to do what that feels like to them to others. That's what I see within the moral foundations of these mass shooters. So what do you do when you have a defunct moral foundation around you? Well, if you don't know, if you haven't had conversations with the person about their moral foundation, you're not going to know how they feel about eye for an eye morality or whatever the hell they're operating with. So parents must be having conversations about their with their children about morality. This is important. And then people will say, well, most parents don't know how to talk about it. I understand, but you have to start somewhere, right? You have to start with having conversations about your moral foundation, and feel free to create an environment where you can challenge your children on their moral foundations, and they can challenge you, and have conversations about this. When I look at these acts, they feel morally justified to carry these acts out. Something within their ought says, and for the sake of what I'm talking about here, it doesn't matter if it's coming from a place of mental disorder. But wherever they find themselves, their moral, the reasonable justification is there within their moral foundation. Alexander says, in the heat of a moment, violence may seem like the right answer, but taking a step back and reflecting on one's foundation often reveals it isn't. Yeah, and this is what I want to see. I want to see educators, I want to see parents, I want to see friends talking more about morality, testing their skepticism when applying it to their own morality, clarifying the mind. This is what my whole philosophical coaching suite is based on. Clarifying the mind. A mind that is not clarified will make more mistakes, moral mistakes, like this. Someone by the name of Adam says, well, depends what is meant by less. If it means like half the guns, I would tend to agree with you. But if it means the U.S. turning into a state like Ireland where guns are hard to attain, then no, I would completely disagree with you. Yeah, that's good, Adam. So let's look at what Tony has to say here. Tony went mental health on this and said, better mental health. Let's look at the claim. Better mental health services combined with more strict gun laws. It is not rocket science. If someone really wants to hurt other people for whatever reason, they will find a way. Okay, there's a bit of a kind of a self-defeater here. Better mental health services combined with more strict gun laws. Now, the strictness of the gun law in the United States, if we look at the United States as a closed system, there are so many guns. What is a more strict gun law going to achieve? What exactly is that going to achieve? So I would like to challenge Tony on that. And then better mental health services. So that's very vague, because not everyone that carries these things out are necessarily going to have a diagnosable mental health disorder. Sometimes these can be psychotic breaks that come out of nowhere. Sometimes they can not even be that. They can be ideologically driven by someone of sound mind. Locked says more family therapy for those who actually need it. See, the problem, so Locked, I get your sentiment. You guys, please drop a like on the video. We got 14 in the room. Just it'll help get more people in the room. More family therapy to those who actually need it. See, you're not dealing with the problem here. Think more fundamental. How are people going to identify they need help if they haven't clarified their mind? And how are they going to clarify their mind if they don't know how to think properly? You see, skepticism is at the absolute fundamental level of this thing. Questioning and continuing to question anything. All of that stuff you say, more family therapy for those who actually need it. That's a repeated platitude that has no real meaning. You need to go more fundamental with this. Guys, anyone who's these platitudinous outcries of these politicians and for lack of a better term, retards, and I say retard with regards to the retardation of how they thinking should be thought out. It's just no one knows how to think is the problem. And if you start off with not knowing how to think, and then you say, we need more therapies available to people. Have you ever asked someone who has antisocial behavioral tendencies to what they think about seeking some therapy? They have never applied skepticism to their own emotionality. Sean Sullivan says, sloganeering doesn't help anyone, nor are they an actual thought. Yeah, 100%. Nick Relay says, are people suffering with mental health issues really capable of doing a self-examination and mental clearing? So that's not the point. You don't need to do a what you need to do is to question and continue to question the things that are emerging. So all we have to do is put the bug of skepticism, the feature of skepticism in people, and then they can at least know that when they're questioning themselves, when they start questioning themselves, they're going to start asking questions of other people. And when they start interacting with those around them, even if it's just their brother or their sister or their mom or their dad or their friend, start having a conversation and asking questions about morality. This is how discourse is going to begin. And this is going to help them start reflecting. And this is going to show them whether their moral foundation is consistent with others. So this will lead to more discovery, and I think that's a good thing. Alexander says, most people with diagnosable mental illness are not violent, and seldom does it escalate to mass shootings. No need to place more stigma or force more therapy upon them over a tiny minority. Yeah, exactly. This is a platitudinous approach to this where people are just lazy thinkers. It's not skepticism. It's actually down the lines of cynicism. People in the U.S. have peanut brains. They certainly need better education. This is by Jacob. Hallucinated Ovens correctly says need to teach how to think, not what to think. Yes, that is correct. Thank you to Hallucinated Owens. Let's do an update. Let's do a refresh on this poll. The poll is at 174 votes in. Educational improvement is winning. Now, educational improvement is essentially what I'm talking about here, right? And I'm glad to see that, because a lot of people think educational improvement means it's just happening like in the classroom. No, or an educational institution. No, the educational improvement can happen in many different ways, and self-educating through the act of questioning and continuing to question, skepticism, is part of that. And educating people on why it's important to test and challenge yourself on things you think you know. Yeah, so we got psychologist in training Sean Sullivan and practicing therapist Alexander both agreeing in the chat here. If you guys want to jump in with them, they're engaging on the YouTube chat. Feel free to jump in, perhaps ask them a question. Bird of the Abyss says more guns. And he says, not joking. What do you guys think about that? More guns. Austin V says nihilism is the problem. Let's examine that claim. Nihilism is the problem. No, you can be nihilistic without committing these acts. So it's just a bad answer. Nihilism doesn't necessarily lead to killing or doing harm. You can be a moral nihilist. Sean Sullivan says gun education is important. If you are ignorant on gun safety, you're far more dangerous than an educated gun owner. Remember to hit that like button, guys. Let's get a good crowd in here going. Okay, I'll refresh that. So let's examine these things a little bit. So less guns. We kind of already talked about that. We talked about if you do like a volunteer buyback program in the United States, looking at the scope of what the culture is in the United States, it is a gun culture. So are people really going to voluntarily sell their guns back to the government? Maybe if it was like, we will pay you $3,000 a gun. Maybe. But yeah, it's going to have to be a significant overhaul. And look, the American people have to decide, do we want to be a gun culture anymore? And it seems like the American people want to still be a gun culture. But if you don't want to be, you have to do a coast to coast use your military, go coast to coast, and there's going to be a lot of deaths with this, because some of those gun-toting Americans are going to say, over my dead body, or pry it from my cold dead hands. This is the culture. So if you want to do this, if you want to take all the guns from the people, you're going to have to go coast to coast with your military and go into people's homes and rummage around, load up the gang members while you're at it. Just go coast to coast and pick everything up. If you do that and you change the culture, over time, you're going to have less shootings. But are you going to have more stabbings? You mean, if your goal is less deaths, taking the AR-15 out of the equation is, and you have a guy going to let's say a movie theater with a pistol instead, perhaps just due to the magazine size, perhaps some of these mass shootings will be less successful. But then what about the other ways that one can go about killing people, right? Guns aren't the only way to cause harm. So it's something to think about. This is why I think you have to think more fundamental. You have to think about morality, the moral foundation, and how to improve that. If you just start off with, I know I'm moral, you failed Skepticism 101. You need to question and continue to question your moral foundation. Test it. Test it out. Test out your kids' moral foundation. Test out your friends. Test out your parents. Test out your grandparents. Have these conversations, folks. Get out there in public and sit on a bench with a sign saying, let's talk about moral foundations. Iron Charioteer says, ban all guns in metropolitan areas. Rural people have to check their guns in at city limits. Iron Charioteer, you're expecting criminals or people who are planning to do harm to just follow those rules? Come on, dude. So let's look at healthcare. What can we do from a healthcare perspective to better deter these events? Well, I would say things promoting healthy ways of living, healthy ways of thinking. Maybe there needs to be maybe philosophy needs to start making its mark in healthcare for these very reasons. Because, you know, from a moral foundations perspective, if we understand someone's presuppositions that kind of are at the front of their moral foundation to not be consistent with life is preferential to death and health is preferential to sickness, then we automatically know that we potentially have a problem there. Like if someone disagrees that life is preferential to death, we may have a potential problem there. Or if health, or let's say they think that sickness is preferential to health, we may have a problem there. So maybe, and I know psychology deals with this, but psychology is kind of, you know, trying to it's not necessarily based on trying to improve the thinking mechanism, right? There's some of that, but where could philosophy infiltrate the healthcare system to better identify and help society, maybe by starting broader conversations, or maybe if like a healthcare institution had a philosopher there who was part of, you know, he kind of worked with the publicity people for the healthcare institution, and they were constantly polling society, asking them philosophical questions, having, or like a recommended conversation to be having. This is the recommended topic of the month to be having a conversation with your family about. And I'm not talking about forcing people, but from, let's say, it's kind of a combination of clinical psychologists working with philosophers, coming up with these questions that can really get people thinking and having conversations with their kids, and perhaps bringing families closer in their understanding of each other. Sean Sullivan says, Canadians get their aggression out during hockey season. It's true, but hockey's huge in the United States, man. Okay, so perhaps there is a philosophical improvement to healthcare there. Maybe this is something we need to propose. Checking in with your people from a government perspective. Asking interesting, perhaps difficult questions. What does your moral foundation say about causing harm to others? Some might say, well, if they cause harm to me, I'm going to cause harm to them, even if it means me causing harm to them is harming someone they love. So maybe you identify some holes in the moral foundations. Parental improvement. What are some ways parents could improve? Iron Charioteer says, Travis Pangburn, the scientific method replaces philosophy with the hypothesis step in the scientific method. No. Just no. Philosophy deals with what ought to be. Science deals with what is. Hypothesis in science isn't about what ought to be. Parental improvement. How do we help parents to improve? And how do we convince parents that they might need improvement? Skepticism. So we need to instill skepticism in parents, in everyone, but in parents, if they're going to be having kids, like they need to understand the art, the mechanism of questioning and continuing to question, separating bullshit from reality, including their own bullshit. Questioning and continuing to question anything, including anything with regards to their kids. Like what kind of questions are you asking your kids? Are you asking your kids moral questions and having an interesting moral discussion with them in an environment where they can feel like they can express themselves freely? Or are you sitting them down and saying, do you know that it's wrong to punch Timmy? Yes. They're going to tell you what you want to hear, what they think you want to hear in that scenario. How about delivering the rationale to them? Not just saying, because it's wrong. And then they ask why. And you say, because it is. It's because you don't know why it's wrong. You don't know how to deliver the information to your kid. Look, Timmy, these moral foundations are subjective. So we all have to start off with some presuppositions. Do you want to know what a presupposition is? Okay, well, these are the two I start off with, Timmy. And this is what is at the root of my moral foundation. Life is preferable to death, generally. Also, in general, health is preferable to sickness. And then from there, I look at what moral I apply that across the board to every human being I come into contact with. And then I think, well, they're probably generally feeling the same way, that life is preferential to death and health is preferential to sickness. So how can we help each other to succeed in that goal? And that's what moral foundations are. So you have to explain the presuppositions, that you're not just pulling this out of your ass. Because this is what kids think when people just say, because I said so. Because it is. Shut up with that. Take some time to learn how to think. Examine yourself. Why do I think this that way? And how can I explain it to my kids clearly? Oh, but I'm so busy with work. You binge watch Netflix 2 or 3 hours a night. Yeah, well, I need some time to unwind. Unwind with some fucking informative philosophy, or learn something new about what is going on in reality. Get some scientific inspiration rolling. Okay, let's look at the updated results. 32% for educational improvement. It's leading. So we went through parental improvement, educational improvement. This one's simple, guys. Skepticism, skepticism, skepticism. Help children, parents, everyone in society strengthen their skeptical foundation. Test them on it. You can write these tests so that there are right and wrong answers. So we really need to start educating children on skepticism at a young age, and this should carry forward all through their high school, and it should be utilized at the university level as well. So skepticism is at the foundation of this problem. People not questioning their own emotional knee-jerk reactions, their own moral failures within their mind, within their moral foundation, where things just don't make sense. This is how you suss out and inevitably talk about how you kind of have this feeling that, if others do bad to me, why is it so bad if I go out and shoot some people because I've been treated like shit? Skepticism cures people of this. Even when you get that out of your body, when you start thinking about it, you may even realize that, oh man, my moral foundation allows for me to do harm to others. I should maybe go talk to someone about this. I want to remind everyone that's in the room, our future live streams are all going to be happening at our new channel, which is the Pangburn Offensive. I'll give you guys a link to that. A lot of you have come over and subscribed, which is great. Please subscribe to the new channel. Aaron Washington says, to determine what is right and what is wrong first, you must prove right and wrong exist. No, 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 no. It's all subjective. It's all subjective. And when you apply skepticism to forming your moral foundation, you look at things like, what is the law of the land? And try to understand why the law of the land is that way. So look at what is going on in reality. That includes the law. Aaron, you said, I said that earlier, but this claim to determine what is right or wrong first, you must prove right and wrong exists. There is no objective right or wrong. There isn't. Someone might come along and say, say, my God told me that this is right. That doesn't make it right or wrong. That's still a subjective interpretation of information. Apex 375 says, what is right and what is wrong is up to human interpretation, as morality itself is a social construct. Well, yeah, you can call it. Nicholas Pollock says, is rape wrong? Not in the intrinsic objective sense. In my moral foundation is maximize well-being for myself and those around me. So rape is ruled out and ruled immoral. Right off the bat. Rape is forcing yourself on someone against their will, sexually. Let's see if we got any more comments here. Actually, okay, so educational improvement, that's clear what we talked about. What about legal improvement, guys? Are there any holes in the current legality with regards to gun control or people's right to privacy? All of these things. Is there anything? Would society in the United States be better off if some privacy laws were eliminated and the government had more access to your life? Hypothetically, would that help this situation? All right, 208 votes in. Yeah, educational improvement is less guns is in second place, guys. Less guns. See, I worded it less guns as opposed to saying take guns away, because obviously if you take guns away and you're talking about mass shootings, if you've successfully taken all the guns away and making it damn near impossible for people to get guns, you're going to see the results of what many other countries who can't even get a gun, what they have with regards to mass shootings. But will you have these instances happen in a different way? Are you going to promote more serial killing? Because if you look at some of the interviews and some of the clinical psychological data we have of some of these people who carry out crimes, it seems like serial killing is in the realm of what they're considering with regards to making whatever statement they're making. Nicholas Pollock, if you can demonstrate objective morality, you will win the Nobel Prize. This is the kind of claim you're making if you are claiming that you can demonstrate objective morality. That's the claim you're making, that you have the information to win the Nobel Prize. So objective means no presuppositions. You're not presupposing anything. If Sean, there's only what do you mean? What are the multiple meanings of objective you're working with here? Alexander says, in the context of this, how much does morality matter? It can affect the choices or society or potential shooters, but the crime is illegal as of now either way. Yeah, so this is part of this, Alexander, is making sure that your moral foundation is consistent with the law of the land. And if it isn't, you still have to make it work within the law of the land, or you're going to find yourself potentially in jail. And someone will say, well, why does that matter? Well, because you've started off with the presupposition that life is preferential to death and wellness is preferential to sickness. And then you have to make the argument, is it better for someone to be locked up in captivity with regards to their well-being, or better for them to be outside captivity? Yeah, but Sean, when we're talking about morality, that's not the usage of objective we're talking about. You're talking about if someone says, okay, my morality has an objective. That's a completely different conversation. The objective moral claims of religion. The objective moral claims of religion are that they have the absolute moral law that is objectively right and wrong from their God. That's what we're talking about with regards to objective morality. We're not talking about morality that has an objective to be achieved. Thank you for engaging, guys. This is great. All right, we got some new comments here. Let's see what's new. Felix Bay says, simple answer, remove all guns. But I don't know what's worse, more guns or bigger government taking rights away. More rigorous background checks. And they need a more efficient way to weed out the mentally ill. See, that part is focusing, your last sentence there, Felix, thanks for the comment, is focusing on nothing fundamental. More rigorous background checks. What is that going to do exactly? Here's an example. The shooter, what was his name? James Holmes, who shot up the movie theater, the Batman shooting. This guy was a neuroscience master's student. There's no he might have had some depression issues in the past, but it's like he's not going to have a problem getting a gun. So like, what specifically, when you say rigorous background checks, that's just a platitude. Specifically within background checks, what do you want to implement that isn't already implemented? That's going to make a difference, because you understand that people have been thinking about this for many, many, many years. Many people, many years thinking about this, and they've been saying rigorous background checks, just like you have in this comment. When you say remove all guns, that's potentially an answer. But like I said before, you in a gun culture, you're asking the culture to flip on its 90-degree flip, and completely eliminate an aspect of American culture. It is a gun culture, and it's funny that when it comes to political topics, it's one of the things I see the Democrats and the Republicans quite close on when it comes to, wanting to keep their. But obviously you get some of the more radical people saying no guns. But I find that the most Democratic politicians want to keep the gun laws as is and allow people to have their guns. And of course, those on the Republican side, it's hard to find someone that likes any form of gun control. Bal Diablo says, provide defensive weapons to law-abiding citizens. Monster Dad says, doesn't matter legal system or not. If people are stupid, that it doesn't matter. Yeah. Legal. This is an important point, and thanks for triggering this, Monster Dad. Oh, by the way, everyone, remember to please subscribe to this channel, but even potentially more importantly, subscribe to the new channel, the Pangburn Offensive. I dropped the link there, or just YouTube search the Pangburn Offensive. That's where our live streams will be happening from now on, so please check that out. And also, please subscribe or join us on Discord. That's where we have our daily conversations. These are group voice chats, so you can actually use your voice and engage with all of us. Apex 375 says, what exactly prompted you to make the Pangburn offensive? Okay, so YouTube has come down really hard on Pangburn. We still, it's still not clear to us why. And when I say us, I mean me, other people that work for Pangburn, and my legal team. Why YouTube has decided to drop the hammer on Pangburn so hard. But they took away our monetization about 7.5, 8 months ago. And we've been going through this reapplication process. And even after 6 months, when they finally reviewed the application process, they said Pangburn still was too hateful or harmful to be remonetized. And literally we had called anything that we expected YouTube to find too offensive for the platform. And this was just based on looking at other channels that are still monetized, like Louder with Crowder, the Steven Crowder's channel, Howard Stern, a few of these other channels that, I mean, if anyone's going to put us on the same scale as being that offensive, I would ask them to demonstrate exactly what exactly is so offensive. I think true centrism and true skepticism really does offend the powers that be, because when you're engaging with the Solid Foundation skepticism, you don't just buy into narratives. You don't. You question and you continue to question them. So anyways, our new live streams, which I think were the things that were triggering YouTube to basically label us a hateful and harmful platform, have been moved over to the new channel, the Pangburn Offensive. So you guys, please support that channel. It really means a lot if you do. And more importantly than supporting or any of that, I just want to hear your perspectives. So join us on Discord, where, and I'm going to drop it one more time, join us on Discord where you can jump into the voice chats. You can hear my voice. I hear your voice. You hear the rest of the Pangburn community's voice. And we engage in interesting conversations every day. Even if you can only jump in for 10 minutes to talk about something. Anyways, that's what triggered that. And thank you guys for your support. One other announcement while I have your attention. Michio Kaku will be coming on the Pangburn podcast. That conversation will be live on this channel. So Michio Kaku and I will be having a conversation about his new book, The God Equation, The Pursuit for the Theory of Everything. And then after that, you're going to get to have an opportunity to engage in a direct Q&A and exchange a little bit back and forth with Michio Kaku on Discord if you go to pang-burn.com/subscription and become a Pangburn website subscriber. With that subscription, you get a monthly check-in with myself. It's basically part of the philosophical coaching that I do, but we can just engage in an interesting conversation about any topic you want to talk to me about. You can film this and release it if you want, or you can just film it and keep it for yourself, whatever you want to do. But that's something that comes along with signing up as a Pangburn website subscriber. But the main poll, of course, is our monthly Q&A that you get to attend. We've had Lawrence Krauss, we've had Jesse Lee Peterson, which was very interesting. We had Tarek Fatah. Who else have we had? We've had a couple more, but this is a new program we're running, and Michio Kaku will be coming in next. I got some really good. I'm working on some really awesome guests for the future as well. So they're a lot of fun, and you'll get to know the Pangburn Discord community, which, you know, the only rules we have are you must be engaging in good faith. You must be engaging in helpful discourse. So those two rules, and then any form of defamation. You know, if someone comes in and makes some claim that so-and-so raped someone and they have no evidence to demonstrate that claim, you're going to get kicked. So there you have it. There's my little plug. Brad Becker says, skeptics can't believe in truth, right? So why make any assertion if objective reality doesn't exist? Oh my God. That's not what skepticism is. That's cynicism. Skepticism is questioning and continuing to question anything, not everything. If you go around questioning everything, you'll turn to a nutcase. Questioning and continuing to question anything. It's the mechanism we use to separate bullshit from reality. That's all skepticism is. Okay. Little update here. This is just tragic, man. These fucking shootings, and I think to myself, like, when stuff like this happens, you know, with this perpetrator, if someone would have had a deep philosophical conversation with him and cared to, what difference could have been made? And not just like have the conversation and then carry on continuing to question each other on anything. And then another person comes in and also engages in that way with this person. And then another, and then another. Refining his skeptical foundation, refining his moral foundation. Maybe even leading him to seek help if he did need it. I'm not saying he necessarily needed it, but there's a lot more to discover here. But it's tragic. I feel it's really upsetting that people's lives come to an end in such a gruesome, disgusting, nasty way. And it's not like it's not like this incident doesn't happen all the time around the world. But it is, there is something that's just not satisfactory to my thinking when, you know, determinism leads us to these horrible things. You know, those people were, as far as I can tell, based on what science has demonstrated through understanding the laws of physical reality, that these people were predetermined to die that way. And it's, you know, it's sad. Ben M says, Boulder is a liberal town, probably not a lot of concealed carriers. What a shame. Well, yeah, but like even the police officer, I read some stuff that he was returning fire, and I don't know exactly how that interaction went with the police officer, but the police officer who lost his life. But yeah, look, Ben M, what you're saying is not irrational. If you have a grocery store full of, and of course depends. This is a situational argument, but you know, in theory, if you know this shooter was kind of in his own area, and you had a whole wall of trained people with firearms, and again, this is a gun culture. Let me state this: if I lived in the United States, I would consider myself the biggest retard on the planet if I wasn't carrying a firearm. It's a gun culture, people. If you don't want to live in a gun culture, get out of the United States until maybe it changes one day. But as it is right now, it is a gun culture. And I don't know specifically, like, if you're allowed, like, are you allowed to carry a concealed firearm in Colorado? Let me just double check. I assume you can. Open carry is legal in Colorado for any person who is at least 18 years. Okay. Can legally possess a firearm. So open carry. Yeah. Doug says no, but this says yes. So yeah, you have to have a permit. Man, I'm telling you, gun culture management is different than what we do up in Canada. I'm from Canada, for those of you who don't know. But yeah, we just don't have a gun culture. Chick Vicious, welcome to the chat. Chick Vicious 237. Chick Vicious is one of our Discord members. So is Sean Sullivan and Alexander and possibly a few others here. Says we should identify what specifically keeps the majority of us from crossing the threshold of violence like this and help extend those features to everyone like a safety net. Well, I think fundamentally, Chick, I think some people have their moral foundation in check with the law of the land and others don't. And I think Skinny says your thumbnail is fake news. Why do you believe it's fake news? Qualify that. Is that stat incorrect? If you can demonstrate that it is incorrect, I will change it right now. But you have to demonstrate it, Skinny. And also this whole fake news thing, you get that fake news thing out of your repertoire. It's in skepticism. If you think a claim is wrong, say ask for a demonstration of that claim. You just made a positive claim that your thumbnail is fake news. So demonstrate your positive claim. But yeah, the fake news thing is it's a platitude and an unhelpful meme. People just think that anything from CNN is fake news. You don't have your skeptical foundation working. It's shut off at that point. You're a cynic. If you say Fox News is fake news, or CNN is fake news, or MSNBC is fake news, you're a cynic. Cynicism is the enemy of skepticism. Yeah, so the features that we want to extend, Chick Vicious, is skepticism. Just questioning and continuing to question anything, including your own emotional triggerings and your own thinking, the thoughts that come into your head, your own moral foundation, your own scientific inspiration, your own artistic inspiration, your own ability of understanding what is going on in reality, all of these things. Ben M says the fake news thing is reality with the media in our country. I understand that media can really put out some misleading, stupid shit, but it doesn't help to just say fake news. Explain why you think it's fake and bring your argument to the table. Fake news is just something fucking useless to say. Tell me why you think it's fake. Make an argument. If anyone wants to jump on the air with me, I'm gonna open up the room here. Looks like I got Sean. Yo, what up, Sean? I'll let everyone know on Discord that
Sorry, I was having trouble getting the mic turned on.
Yeah, no worries. I'm just gonna notify everyone that we are live on YouTube talking about mass shootings. Join us right here. I'm going to give everyone the link on YouTube as well. Guys, if you want to join this conversation, we're going to start the live conversation on Discord. Please join us. I'm also going to open up a window here so you guys can see who's talking. You guys in the Discord room, just give me a second. What up, Aaron?
Oh, now you recognize me, huh? I'm Aaron Washington in the YouTube chat.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. So there's the Discord link, guys. Let me just add Discord on OBS here. It'll just take me a second. Window capture. OBS. All right, I want to go Discord. I'm going to go Control. Whoops. And yes, I'm going to tell you all what I'm doing as I'm doing it.
Really breaks the awkward silence.
Awkward silence is like my favorite humor. I love it. Okay, there we go.
I don't really believe in awkward silence.
It's fake news, man. Okay, cool. Well, what do you guys think about the topic? Let's start with Sean. He was in the room first.
I think it's absolutely tragic what happened, but I don't think it's necessarily I think it's more of a knee-jerk reaction to try to lay that at the feet of all gun owners because we have access to firearms. That's the primary reason for that. Each person has their own emotions and motivations that motivate their actions, no matter how good or how awful they are.
Mm-hmm.
And so it doesn't seem reasonable to me that we have to pretty much, I guess, use punitive measures against the majority of the population to account for the evil doing of a minority of the population.
Right. And how about you, Aaron? What do you think about what Sean just said?
Look, I've said it before, and I will say it again until I'm either blue in the face or 6 feet underground. As long as human beings are the following: predators, tribal, full of hatred, and in the case of America, a gun culture, this shit's not going away. Period. Now, the only thing I could potentially offer you is, as modern society continues to cultivate and as it continues to evolve, it is very possible, and as a matter of fact, some articles suggest that it is happening, that we are becoming less violent, as violence is no longer necessary for our survival. In my eyes, that's the only hope you've got for this kind of thing to stop. Because until it does, or until we do something about teaching people not to hate each other, like me, it's not going away, period. That's the way I see it. So
a question for you, Aaron, about that. Do you think that when you're living in a gun culture, people should feel like they have a responsibility to be carrying?
I mean, maybe responsibility might be that might be one of those dangers.
Oh shit, you're breaking up. Damn it. I'll throw the question. We'll come back to you, Aaron. I'll throw the question back to Sean, and then we'll get Matrix and Nivik in here. But Sean, do you think when you're in a gun culture like the United States, people should? Do you think they have a moral responsibility to carry?
Well, it's not that. See, it's a weird thing to hear gun culture when you live in the United States, because it's not like it's not like the overwhelming majority of the population has this shared belief that everybody ought to have a gun. It's our the right to own a weapon is predicated simply as that you have the freedom to choose to own, carry a weapon. So you can choose not to do that. That's fine. However, I would say that if you choose to act out the freedom to own and carry a firearm, I would say you have more of a responsibility to be educated in gun safety, and that it doesn't give you a license to just point your weapon at anybody or any sort of perceived threat. That's where the education thing comes from. So I would say it's more if you have a responsibility, if you choose to act out that freedom, to be educated and trained so that you only have to use it when it's absolutely necessary, and that it's not a show of some sort of higher status of look at me, I'm carrying a gun, woohoo.
What that reminds me of is that fucking clip of, so there's this old grandma who's walking outside the or old woman walking outside a grocery store, and there's some dude that runs out who's being chased by the managers because he's stealing some food, and she pulls out a fucking gun and starts shooting at him, and there's like bystanders all over the place. It was a meme that was going around, just entitled America. But yeah, like Sean, do you, like, in a situation like that, people probably shouldn't be shooting at someone? Do you agree?
I agree with that. The only time that you should point your weapon at somebody is, one, if you intend to kill that person, and two, the threat has to be to life. Right. Looks in and pulls out a gun with the intent to kill people.
Right.
Then the use of force is kind of necessary there.
Right.
But it's again, there's responsible usage, and when you have a right, you have to be responsible in that right. You can't just because you have the right doesn't mean you can wave it in the face of other people. That's
right.
Well, because that's not really correct.
Well, here's the problem with America. People don't have responsibility. You have to go through testing to get a license to drive a car, and yet somehow every single goddamn year people still die horribly in car crashes. People don't have responsibility. They don't have a sense of being careful. These just aren't things that exist in America. Sorry.
So Nivik,
I would say that's a wrong assumption. What you're seeing is a lot of incidents of irresponsible behavior, which it does happen. I will give you that one. However, I would say that most people don't take responsibility as seriously as they should. It's just like, oh yeah, I understand I have this responsibility to do this thing, but I'm still going to do whatever the hell I want. And I think that comes from the last 30 years of being spoon-fed this idea that we have all of these rights, but we're not really drumming down that responsibility thing. And I think that's the problem, or at least it's part of the problem. It's not as simple as, well, you have a problem and there's one cause and therefore you can have one solution. It's not that simple, and to think that is intellectually dishonest at one level, and I would say it's deluded at another level. So
are you claiming that it's not that people don't have responsibility, it's that they don't take it seriously?
I think that's a reasonable observation, or at least that's what people are acting out, is that they're not acting out taking that responsibility serious.
Well, when I see some idiot in a four-wheeler flying past me at like 80 miles an hour with their phone in their hand, clearly not even looking at the road, I'm sorry, that doesn't look like a person who isn't taking responsibility seriously. That looks like an idiot who has no sense of responsibility. Sorry, so I disagree with you there.
So we'll go back to that if you guys want to keep on that. I want to get Nivik in. Nivik, so just want to throw the question to you. Another mass shooting in the USA. How do we better deter these events?
I think people are like looking at things in symptom-wise, not addressing the source of where things come from, with wanting to arm, or and I think they should like address psychology in having that be in schools, and have that be be in classroom in multiple grade levels, and having people, be able to understand how to handle their emotions, and in being more learned in psychology and understanding it, so they could, be able to kind of like deal with issues psychologically, because the gun. I don't. So I don't. That's why I don't understand, like, the gun. Like, it's kind of like if you grab a bunch of guns and throw it into a room, people are gonna want to grab guns in order to shoot the other person. That's not. I don't really think like that. That's kind of like a symptom kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's a thing. The issues come from somewhere, and people, and it's the software of the brain. It's not the hardware of grabbing a gun. It starts with the mind. And I think people should more, like, that's what I'm thinking, like, we should just have classrooms for psychology, like, throughout all the damn grades, because people are jacked up in the head.
All right, thanks, Nivik. Eliyahu, same question to you. How do we better deter these events?
Man, I wish I knew, because then I'd be able to collect my Nobel Peace Prize.
Right.
But I really don't have an answer. I think about it a lot, actually, and I don't really know. Now, I do think that the deaths from school shootings are they're terrible, but gun laws, no matter how strict the gun laws are, there's no evidence that they deter these types of shootings.
Right, because you're asking someone who's looking at doing something criminal to follow the law all of a sudden.
Well, yeah, exactly. There's that. And then people who are outside of America, not you, but just in general, a lot of people who are outside of America think that, well, we just take the guns out of the hands of citizens, or we just do a buyback, or we take the guns out of their hands, and then these events don't happen. Well, you've got more guns than people in this country, hundreds of millions of them.
I hear what you're saying, but if someone's saying, just as a scientific model, as a hypothesis, if you were to be successful at going coast to coast with your military and literally taking up all of the guns, you're obviously going to miss some, and there's still going to be some people being able to get guns and not others. But so Eliyahu, if they were successful in doing that, and we're talking about a complete complete flip in what I would call a gun culture. What do you see that decreasing mass shootings?
The mass shootings may decrease, but there's already, even though there's a lot compared to other countries, there's still quite a few of them. And the real reason why I don't want to take guns out of the hands of citizens is because we are a very big country. We're spread out across a lot of it. And there are a lot of places where if you get burglarized or held at gun or assaulted or something, the police can't get to you in time.
Right.
They just can't get there. And so your best defense is to be armed and to be, ideally be trained and armed. But yeah.
So that's what you just talked about right there is a key fundamental difference between Canada and the United States, because I don't think we are a gun culture, and that's the differentiation I would make between Canada and the United States.
Can I say what else you can add? I think critical thinking skills.
Well, I was going to say my answer to this question is we have to look at fundamentally thinking, and why, because there's a thinking problem of how people are thinking of their own moral foundations, because obviously people feel justified to carry out these, whether there's a mental health aspect to this or a ideological aspect. It's like this is all emerging out of the mind, right? So what are the things we can do to refine and improve one's ability to question and continue to question what is going on in their mind? And I look at skepticism, and I see skepticism as the answer, and I'll tell you how it works. for instance, this shooter, what difference would have been made if someone who knew the shooter, parent, brother, sister, friend, was engaging in some ideological, philosophical discussions about morality and what is moral and what isn't, and where I think there's holes in your morality and where you think there's holes in mine, and engaging in conversations. What would have that done for this this perpetrator? Would it have improved their chances to avoid or to even deter them from feeling justified to carry out this this nasty slaying?
I think it would.
So I think that when we're looking at topics like this, there is an outcry to philosophers and thinkers and the public. I want everyone to become philosophers, to start having moral discussions, questioning and continuing to question their own morality and also the morality of those around them. And like we do on Discord every day, with a smile on our face. If this is adopted in the United States, and there can be more outreach, and an idea I had while we were just thinking live on the air here, perhaps the government needs to take it upon themselves to question and continue to question skepticism, the moral fabric of the people that are under their governance. Asking them interesting questions about their morality. The topic this month, America, from the White House, a question from the philosopher in the White House or from the leader of the country is, what drives your moral foundation, or what drives your morality? How do you?
I like that idea.
Yeah, well, I honestly think it's the answer.
We've got a federal poet. We've got our poet laureate. I don't see why we couldn't have a philosopher laureate.
Well, I mean, and then you get someone like a Dan Dennett writing the. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. Look into the light. It went away. Fuck, that's unsatisfying. I hate that.
Yeah.
Squirted out my nose. Anyways, blooper.
Can I add to the?
But one sec, Nivik. So you get a guy like Dan Dennett with a platform that allows him to even if it's done by mail, even if it's done, what it is a suggestion from the leadership to say, guys, this is our suggestion from philosopher Dan Dennett, the country's philosopher. Even if he's an elected philosopher out of all the philosophers, here is a note from the country's philosophy department, and it's a recommendation for a topic of conversation to take place in the home, even if it's just once throughout the month. And you open it up together as a family or as friends, whatever you want to do. And you say, okay, let's see what the question is. The question is, what do you think is appropriate behavior towards someone who has wronged you? Like some kind of moral dilemma question. What would you do if someone said something bad about you on Facebook? Like stuff that's practical, right? Do you think you are reasonably justified to say something bad back at them? Or how do you view that person now? And how do you keep track of it all? So
Travis, you're not suggesting.
Sorry, go ahead, Aaron.
You're not suggesting by having people ask these questions that you want people to come to a place of this turn the other cheek bullshit, are you? Because I will literally jump off a cliff if that's the direction that anybody wants us to head in. I'm not trying to hear that turn the other cheek.
Well,
bullshit.
Aaron, my moral foundation is based in maximizing well-being for myself and those around you. And sometimes turn the other cheek is not going to do a damn thing for that. For instance, if there's an active shooter, based on my moral foundation, I'm looking to get my hands on a weapon to take that motherfucker out. And that is consistent with my moral foundation. Because a lot of people
Well,
think that
what I think.
people like to think that, oh, it's so flighty to say, I want to maximize well-being for myself and those around me. That relationship with those who are attempting to harm others' ability to be well, that person becomes an enemy of my morality. So there's a moral justification there. So yeah, turn the other cheek is we're not talking about Jainism here.
I think I can provide an even better example of the philosophical discussion, because I do believe, as hard as it is for me to say this as someone who was bullied my entire childhood and have several dreams about extracting revenge on those assholes, I do believe that the philosophical conversation can happen. Obviously, it's going to be different for everybody, but the example that comes to my head about where that would have worked the best are the Columbine shooters. Don't forget, they were bullied by some of the very people that they went out and shot.
Hey, Aaron, I have a question for you. Have you ever read the writings of the kids that shot up Columbine?
No.
You probably should. It'll open your eyes up, because it's not so much the bullying that motivated those actions. If you actually read the writings, I can't remember if it's Klebold or Harris. I want to say it was Klebold, but he started off his journals with the sentence, "I hate the fucking world." Right out, flat out, that's what he said. And he thought of himself as superior to all the other people in the schools, and that there was absolutely nothing redeeming about being itself at all. So he didn't point fingers about bullying or anything like this. He had a feeling of this narcissistic superiority, and he decided so he decided that the best thing, in spite of irredeemable being, was to just take everyone out, and that's exactly what they acted out. So to sit there and lay it all on the feet of bullying, I think is a little too simple.
Well, if that's the case, then whoever talks them down from hitting the detonate button they themselves should probably earn a Nobel Peace Prize. How do you convince somebody that no human being is above another human being in any way that actually matters in the grand scheme of things? How do you do that?
Well,
that's not an answer that I really have readily available, unfortunately.
Well, the answer is, Aaron. Well, I do. The answer is that people need to be willing to adjust their own moral foundation for better ideas, better moral ideas that come along, including myself. Now, I've gone through that process my entire life, and the moral foundation I've come up with is maximizing well-being for myself and those around me. Every classical moral issue and question and dilemma that pops up, this gives me the best outcome and the best outcome for those around me, as far as so far. But that doesn't mean that I will ever stop questioning and continuing to question where this might be faulty. And skepticism is at the fundamental base of that process. It's the mechanism we use to do that. And that is what fundamentally has to be instilled into children, educators, parents, grandparents, everyone. Skepticism is already practiced by everyone. The problem is most people's skeptical foundation is the first, it's like the first layer of brick in the castle. They're doing it, but they're kind of doing it and not realizing they're doing it. Like when they wipe their ass. What you spend your whole life wiping your ass. You continue to question your ability to wipe your ass by checking to see if you're done yet. And we have good reason for that, because not all shit is the same. It's the most relatable example I can use to people of how they do engage with their skeptical foundation. Now, what we need to make sure people don't do is start using skepticism and seeing the benefits that it pays, and fall into the bed of the enemy of skepticism, which is cynicism. And cynicism is going to lead you to QAnon and all kinds of nonsensical crap, confirmation bias, bad think. And that's what that is dangerous as well. And people go around touting using cynicism and calling it skepticism all the time. Jumbly Jumble, I just want to get your take quickly. How do we deter these events? Do you have anything to add?
Well, kind of a twofold thing. As far as talking about the morality of the situation, keep in mind that a lot of these gun owners live in the South, which is predominantly Christian. Now, I can't say anything specifically towards, whether or not that's, good or bad, I suppose, but I don't think you'll have a lot of Christians saying that there's any other source for their morality than God.
Right.
And if they do say that there's a different source, then you could arguably say that they're not Christian.
Well,
65% of the population of the U.S. as of a couple of years ago, maybe 2 years ago, was Christian. So, some either Protestant, Catholic, or whatever it is.
Look, I'm glad you brought this up, brother. It has to be. Uh-oh. Can you guys still hear me? Oh no.
A lot of people.
Can you guys hear me?
Did we lose? Oh, can hear you now.
Oh, okay. My fucking computer.
Really, some religious people changing their minds.
I'm just reloading here, guys. Sorry, got disconnected. You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm really glad you brought that up. Sorry, 2 seconds, Jumbly. If you have a system of belief that tells you cannot question and continue to question the foundation or the proclamations of a god or whatever with regards to your morality, you have an enemy of skepticism. You have an enemy of skepticism in these.
You can't be that direct, though.
In these religions that have this mob boss top down moral system. It really is the enemy of skepticism. Now the
you
question,
can't be that direct, though. They'll dig in.
No, just wait. And then someone wants to say, well, how can I be a skeptic and keep my religion, keep my, keep within what my religion demands of me? For fuck's sakes, I'm getting disconnected here. Oh, there goes Discord. Guys, I don't know what's going on. Okay, I just lost Discord. Weird. Anyways, if you guys... Oh yeah, you guys can still hear me. I'm going to end this live stream here. We're going to keep the conversation going over on Discord. Please come over and join us there. Here, I'm going to drop you guys the link one more time. Join us over on Discord. We're going to keep the... Tommy Willis says Russian bots are shutting you down. Yeah, who knows? No, I just did a new update on my computer, and it's kind of fucking some things up. But anyways, come join us on Discord. We're gonna keep the conversation going there. We've gone for an hour and a half here on YouTube, but every day we have conversations over on Discord. Come and join us. Yeah, I gave my answers as to how I think we can solve this dilemma. Maybe it's about time I write this into a proposal for the governing bodies that are, tasked to look after all of us. But this has been Test Your Skepticism on Pangburn, and as always, let art and science inspire. Thanks, guys.